Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. You are chopping it up with Chuck. I'm the editor-in-chief with Cannabis and Tech Today, and this is your award-winning podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. We are going to be talking a little bit about cannabis media, and we have with us Elizabeth Browde, and she's going to be talking about a new media venture that is going to be coming out very soon in conjunction with 420 Media. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much for having me. We're very excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is a really interesting topic, cannabis media. It seems like there's a lot of things that are holding cannabis media back, but also great opportunities right now. So it's fun to talk to someone who's a real media veteran. You've got quite an extensive list of accomplishments in media. Do you want to just give the audience a quick little background?
Yeah, well, I've been doing this a long time. Basically, I've been telling stories and putting content on the various different platforms. Back in the day, the only outlet we had was television. And so that's really where my background is. And I've been in television for over 20 years. I've created networks, I've rebranded networks, and I've produced and developed many series that you've probably seen, everything from lifestyle shows like What Not to Wear and Trading Spaces to documentaries and biographies. And I headed up development at TLC and Travel Channel and created a wellness network that was a lifestyle alternative wellness network. At that time, it was known as Vria Living, and it went on to become Z Living. And that was something that we did in New York a few years ago. And that is very much was educating everyone about alternatives, ways to be healthy.
Yeah. So what is the inspiration for the new Cannabis Network? You obviously have a great history and a track record. What kind of inspired this?
Well, Carrie Accardi really is like the inspiration behind the entire network. She she just celebrated her 7th anniversary of when she really found out what her vocation was. And she had an aunt that was very seriously ill and unfortunately passed away. And she saw what cannabis could have done for her and did for her during, her final days. And she really vowed to educate and advocate for the plant. And so that's really where this comes from. And because she has been so dedicated, she has thousands and thousands of hours of footage that has been documenting the road and the journey of cannabis and where we are today and where we will be. So you're right, it is an interesting time, but there is a lot of opportunity. It certainly is a buzz because of all the different legislation that's coming out and all the states that are becoming legal and and people that are advocating for it. But for this particular network, we really want to dispel the stigma associated with cannabis. So let it not be so scary. I've never been a social user. I came about it because I had an illness that helped me function really, not be so nauseous during treatments and medication. And I didn't know anything about it. I was in a state that it wasn't legal. I was in Pennsylvania at the time. And I was going to Pilates class and my Pilates teacher said, "Hey, look, I'm struggling too. I have brain cancer. I have something that can help you." And so I said, okay, but here we were, I'm in a parking lot and, I'm buying drugs. I mean, this is what I'm thinking. And, it's like, there has to be a better way than this, because if it weren't for that, I would not have been able to function. And I worked all during my treatments. I actually didn't disclose while I was working at, I worked at QVC where I headed up celebrity brands just prior to getting involved with Carrie. And, I was able to hold down, a full-time job and be as normal as possible. And it was all due to the cannabis plant. So with this footage, we hope to create all kinds of different content. We've got plans to do original content moving forward that is much like
scripted stuff or reality.
I would say, reality is such a
I know,
loaded
right? As soon as I
term.
said it, I felt
Well,
like,
exactly. You kind of feel dirty. That's kind of why, like, I'm here. I stopped working for those different types of shows because, I wanted to be able to make shows that, I could watch with my dad. So,
like TLC, that used to be the learning channel. I think
exactly. And when
morphed.
I was there, there was always that takeaway information. But yes, it's very true. As the landscape became so crowded, it's like who had the loudest, kind of most shocking thing, and that's sort of
Yeah.
like, what was going, but it's all cyclical, and I
Mhm.
think we're at a point now where I think people are looking for something that is, trusted, authentic. That's really what this network is going to be all about. It's all about being a trusted authority. Where can you get information that's truthful, and and hear stories that uh, people want to hear, to let them learn a little bit more about the plant, just to make them more comfortable, and being entertaining. I mean, this certainly isn't going to be a network where it's professorial in any way, but just an entertaining lifestyle network that really kind of mainstreams cannabis content for possibly the first time.
Yeah, and that's a great question. There have been, other networks that have
Mhm.
tried and weren't successful. What makes you think that this would be different?
Well, Carrie has been so thoughtful about putting this all together. She could have launched this network many years ago with the content that she already had,
Mhm.
but I think she really wanted to say, like, how could she figure out a way to really do this where it would be successful? So we've put together a team of people, including myself, having been able to launch a network before, dealing with sponsors and advertising partners, really, though that's very, very important. And because she took her time to kind of build this team that includes people who have national recognizable ad campaigns, and producers who have produced shows everywhere from the Food Network to TLC to Discovery, I think that we've got a winning combination here. And in terms of the advertisers, we don't look at them in terms of like, oh, this is just an ad or commercial, but we're really a place where our partners in advertising can have their stories heard. That's something that I've been doing my entire career, working with companies like Disney or Carnival, and where you could tell the stories of the brands. And our partners don't have any kind of a platform right now, and that's really our goal, is to give a platform, be partners, have some of our partners that are with us in the beginning, obviously they'll be very special to us. So that's really our goal, is to make sure that it's a platform that can be helpful to all of our different partners, whether it's people that are in the cannabis industry,
Mhm.
and whether they're cultivators or advocates, or whether they're dispensary owners or brand builders. There's a place for all of that on our network.
Who is in the space now? When I think of networks that are out, I think on my Roku, I've got a couple. I think that there's, maybe like there's High Times, there might be something else. I was just curious, kind of who is in the landscape now, and is there room for you guys as well, or do you think it'll get too
Yeah,
crowded?
I I hope that it's not too crowded. I mean, there's the networks that are out now. I feel that they're all kind of like in a social cannabis space,
Mhm.
and for lack of a better way to describe it, we're not going to be the stoner network. It's not going to be people sitting around kind of like let's see what happens when we get high and let's toss things off the roof or something. That's not going to be the network. It's
Right.
really going to be a lifestyle network. When you think about cannabis, I think about it, and Carrie thinks about it as a lifestyle. Cannabis is going to, as it progresses and evolves, it's really going to permeate all the different lanes of our life. So whether you talk about clothing, and it could be hemp or beauty products and beauty, just anything that has to do with that, with CBD and oils and feeling good and medicine, and just the history. So you have all of these different lifestyle lanes, not to mention cooking, which is so prevalent now with us all being home and not being able to go out to restaurants. What a great place to come to, find your favorite recipes only with a little bit of cannabis built in. So I think that's the way we look at it. It's really a true omni-platform lifestyle network.
And where do you envision it being distributed? Would it be a lot of the streaming services?
Right now, that's exactly where we're starting with streaming services. So we will be on Roku and Apple TV and Fire, and you'll be able to download the app on your iOS and Android, and that will be coming in the spring. And in fact, we can definitely
that's
tell
big.
you, yeah,
that's a lot of coverage right there.
A lot of coverage, right?
Yeah.
And that. I really have to say, Charles, that's just the beginning. We have a lot of big plans right now. The streaming service will be free, but there'll be plans down the line, for other different types of platforms and things that people haven't seen before. And as a nod to Carrie's first venture in this space, we're going to be launching on 420 as a nod to 420 Media.
I like that. That's a really, really smart plan. Very smart plan. Speaking of smart plans, we have to pay our bills. So we are going to take a quick break so that we can hear from one of our sponsors, but we'll be back right after this. You are chopping it up with Chuck here on Cannabis Tech Talks. We are chatting with Elizabeth, and we are learning about a new venture with 420 Media that's going to be debuting on 420 across major streaming networks, and it's not your typical stoner channel. So stay put, and we'll be right back after this brief message.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. Real quick, this episode is sponsored by Rad Source Technologies. One of the biggest problems crop growers run into is the constant threat of mold and pathogens attacking their harvest, making the final product unviable. Well, Rad Source Technologies has developed the RS420 Cannabis Irradiator, which uses modern X-ray irradiator technology to ensure that your product is irradiated safely and effectively with little to no changes to the cannabinoids or terpenes. For more information, check out www.radsource.com.
Hey everybody, we're back. You are chopping it up with Chuck on Cannabis Tech Talks, and we are discussing cannabis media. We're discussing a new venture that's going to be coming out on 420, and we have somebody who's a very special guest, Elizabeth Browde, who has a tremendous background in doing media and with some major networks and major shows. But let me ask you, Elizabeth, you don't have a background in cannabis. How is this going to work? And is this an issue?
Well, that's why I have a wonderful partner, Carrie Riccardi, who definitely knows so much about cannabis, and she's so wired. I mean, literally, she has been giving me a crash course, but certainly I don't know what I don't know. It's been a great learning experience, and I hope that I never stop learning about it. I don't really actually think it is an issue. In fact, I think that it's actually helpful because I'm really the person that we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach people who really don't know a lot about cannabis. Because as I was talking about before, we're really trying to break that stigma so that it's not, if someone has some sort of an issue where cannabis can be helpful, they won't feel so intimidated. Like, I brought home some cream for my dad because he suffers from arthritis and he's a golfer and he can't grip the club like he used to because it's so painful. And literally for about an hour, he's like, if I do this, is it going to get into my bloodstream? Am I going to get high? Am I going to be able to drive the car? I'm like, Dad, it's not like that. So if we're able to just help that one person, that's something that would be very special to us. And with my former network that I was instrumental in launching, called Varia, it was a wellness network that was alternative medicine that had an Eastern slant. I didn't know one single thing about that, and what plants and herbs can do for us, as to heal. It's astonishing, the things that I've seen, and Carrie has seen those kind of what only can be described as miracles with the cannabis plant as well. So I look forward to telling those stories and getting the word out, and 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 trying to figure out, how, everyday people can integrate cannabis in their life in any way that they feel comfortable with.
I feel like, and key storytelling is always, it's an art form, right?
100%.
But I feel like there's one way that you can really get through all the noise. And you're right, there is so much stigma associated with this plant. They have run such an effective, basically, character assassination,
Sure.
against the cannabis and the hemp plant for
Mhm.
so long that people
Mhm.
have a stigma, and this kind of content is going to be really good. But I think what actually resonates is when you can show an example of somebody who's suffering from whatever it may be. They might be having seizures. It could be a little kid. It could be a veteran. It could be a mother. It could literally be anybody. And when you show, them getting better because of the
Absolutely.
plant, because of that or whatever, I
Mhm.
kind of feel like that cuts through all the crap, and people all of a sudden go, huh,
Right.
maybe there is something to this. And I think that that's a really good bridge, to the people that maybe are, not currently pro cannabis or just don't
Mhm.
think that it's there. I think it's hard to turn your back on clearly seeing somebody who's suffering then get better. Is that kind of what you think as
Absolutely.
well?
Yes. Oh, of course. I mean, that is definitely,
It's like universal.
it is universal. And I think that when you see it and you can see it,
Mhm.
that's what the amazing thing is. So if you have a child, just like you said, if there, I've spoken to mothers who have extremely autistic children who have seizures, and
Mhm.
this plant has helped cut down on that. And they see a quality of life that they never thought their child could have. So when you see that, it's very, very moving. And, whether or not that particular issue is something that you face in your own life, we'll be able to tell stories that will definitely show that this plant can help, and things that I'm not even aware of, that they can do now. So I really am looking forward to hearing that. But you're absolutely right. Stories that we can tell of people that have gone through this and have seen changes in their own life and seen the benefits, that is really the best kind of advertising that, we can have, for sure.
My grandma, she just passed away, bless her soul. She was really awesome in my life. And I remember going and seeing her. And there was a time where she was on a ton of medications. Like
Yeah.
she had, the pill dispenser where it was just like, brrr, and all
Yeah.
those things came out multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of problems with drug interactions, with side
Mhm.
effects, things like that. And I remember just one of the last times I went up there, she told me that she was taking this CBD and that it was helping her with like inflammation and like other things. And it
Excellent.
allowed her to get off some stuff, like
That's
she
great.
was able to stop doing it. And I got to tell you, like, I think she thought it was cool. Like, cause she obviously grew up in a time where this was very, stigmatized, but now,
Mhm.
I think maybe, people are starting to look at cannabis and hemp differently. I believe that the latest polling is, somewhere around 70% for full legalization across the country. I mean, that was like unheard of,
Yeah.
10, 20 years ago. So I think it's
Mhm.
even, if grandmas and grandpas, can see it, as the benefits, I think that's a really, really good sign, that it is getting through to people that are actually getting relief from it.
Absolutely. And, I think that, you know, as I spoke in the beginning about trying to put together a really great team, one of the things that are very important to us and to Carrie is to have, a board that is there to
Mhm.
kind of, keep us honest, keep us authentic. Have a journalism background. I worked at NBC News for many years. And so for me, that is imperative, that whatever we're putting on our network is, something that we can stand by, so that, because we don't want to become some place where, people are coming from misinformation. There's enough misinformation out there. So, on our board will be, doctors who will, have seen this firsthand. So it's not just going to be, people that have, not just anecdotal, but, definitely people from the medical community, and then people who have been in the cannabis community for such a long time, people like, Marv Washington, the Super Bowl champion, who works with us, who is such an advocate for, what the plant can do for all the injuries that athletes have suffered. And, we have another series that we're premiering as part of our initial run that, is with Nurse Heather, who's been working with veterans, to combat their PTSD. And when you just see what this plant can do, it's really miraculous. So I think that speaks to what you were saying before, these firsthand stories of these pioneers, really, of the cannabis.
Powerful. It's really powerful stuff.
Very much so. Very much so.
So where do you see the network evolving, in the next few years after you launch and everything like that?
Yeah, I do see this becoming a true lifestyle network to represent all the different pillars that, you find in your daily life. So whether we're talking about cooking or clothing or beauty, or, where you go for like a little history, this will be the place that you come for that. And then even in terms of, I remember the very first time that I walked into a dispensary, it was like really overwhelming for me. I didn't really even know what to say, I didn't even know the right lingo. So just little things like that,
Yeah.
kind of, those are like little helpful hints that, we hope to kind of get across. Again, once people kind of know that, it's like they're not intimidated anymore, and it breaks that stigma for sure.
I got to tell you, I mean, I go to the dispensary right around the corner here, and I go in, and the cross section of people, like one you see like a librarian, and then one you see like, like a couple young people, and then you see like, a middle-aged guy who looks like he's a runner, he runs marathon, like it's just so. And I'm in Colorado, so we've been doing this for a little bit, it's maybe a little less stigmatized here, but I think it's just great what you guys are doing, that you're taking a fresh approach. And honestly, between you and me, I think that your background has nothing to do with it. In fact, I think it's just a plus, because you need people with diverse backgrounds coming in to bring professional skills and executional skills to this industry to help bring it up. So it's a fun question to ask, but I think there's room for all of us, especially, with kind of the same type of mission to inspire, to inform, and to destigmatize. And it sounds like you guys are going to have a very creative way to do that.
Yeah, I think so. So we're very excited, and we will love to come back when it gets closer to the launch and tell you where we're at, and and hopefully give you a little bit more info.
I think that would be amazing. So let our audience know, is there a website? Is there any place that they can go? Just
they can definitely check out, 420media.com, and we'll keep you posted, and we'll come back and share.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've got a teaser. We've got a heck of a new venture coming out. It's something that sounds like it's going to be fun. It's going to be informative. And we've got some real industry pros in Carrie and Elizabeth behind this. So thank you so much for joining us here on Cannabis Tech Talks. And for everybody that's listening right now, make sure that you go and check out 420 Media. Also, if you like this episode, go ahead and give it a like, share it with your friends, and make sure that you're following us, Cannabis and Tech Today, on social, so you can stay up with the conversations and all the great guests that we have here. That's another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Take care.